Good morning. Welcome to Banter with Richie B Live.
Near these huts.
Yep.
There is something going on here.
Behind us after. The trees were fucking moving everywhere. Yeah, bro. Goosebumps.
Maddox, you were with me. We looked this way. It was not like this.
Welcome to Banter with Richie B. Yo, what's up, everybody? Oh, yeah, that's right. He's back. Yeah, we've seen it for a while. Oh, I'm live. Look at that. Say hi, WOJO.
Hi, WOJO.
Bigfoot with a fan, and that's what we did. We went out together, and it's like 12 investigations later. He won't leave. Do you know how to get rid of him?
So,
What the hell's going on here? I left you alone for 1 second.
podcast here, sir.
Yeah, I left you alone for 1 second. You take the show over, goddammit. Saying, the best I can think of is tweakers are out in the woods making tree structures. That's what you meant.
You know, it damn sure wasn't a bunch of Boy Scouts. I could
Bro,
have told you that.
Suddenly go blowing that way.
Right.
You guys will know. Yeah.
Well, red alert. The producer's here. Bobby Lee.
These millionaires don't know what Prime is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What are these lowly people drinking?
You know, something like Dog Man, right? And I have no dog in the fight, so to speak.
Yo, what's up? Banter with Richie B Podcast happening live. That's right, Jim. About to get down and crazy with Ernie Davieau, folks. I told you to do some research, but not all your research. You're about to hear a story that's about to blow your mind. All right? Because that's what's up around here. We like to blow people's minds, folks. Oh, and speaking of blowing your minds, man. Remember the gifted chair and I left the recorder there and blah, blah, blah. All right, I've been up like twice this week till like 2, 3 in the morning. I couldn't put the recorder down. I just could not. Dude, I'm downloading it into my laptop. I'm having technical difficulties. I suck at technical bullshit. I'm decent for a guy his age. I'm just not great. Anyways, welcome to the Get Haunted Network, the P3, the Paranormal Podcast platform, baby. If you're on the Get Haunted Network, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are not on the Get Haunted Network, get your shit together, all right? I got a bunch of fellow podcasters over there with all kinds of topics that you guys need to check out. From dreams to cards to ghosts to Bigfoot to other cryptids, all kinds of things, man. So listen, let's bring our co-host in. I know he's been putting his makeup on in the back room and throwing on a little lip gloss for you guys. He's trying to get all prettied up and look super, super cute tonight. I don't know. I think he's got something for Ernie, but that's just my opinion. All right. Don't judge me. Everybody getting in here. We're going to say hi to everybody on the side, and we are going to have some fun tonight, man. I've been dragging ass. I'm on like, I don't know, too many. I feel like Damien, man, except with Rockstar today. I don't know what it was. I needed it. You know what I mean? Me and Damien are going to be tripping balls. Him on Red Bull, me on Rockstar. Sorry, is that advertising? Well, good. Pay me, suckers. There it is. And there's Animal. Let's get WOJO in here to say hi to everybody and get this show on the road. I feel like dancing. WOJO, you want to dance?
Hello. Happy Saturday, everybody. And boom! Welcome to the show.
Did you like how I added that to our...
Yeah.
Did you like how I added that to our opening? Huh? Sexy.
Absolutely.
Because that is the Banter with Richie B Productions. Just a little something, wink, wink. Keep your eyes out. Stuff's happening. And I'm not talking about in my pants. All right, here we go. Let's go up. Let's go up. Let's go up. Let's go up. Henry comes in, and the only thing he says is interesting.
What's interesting?
No-
My makeup?
Nothing else going on. Nothing else going on. He just pops in and go. So I just wrote, yes, I am. So I think that was a fair assessment on my behalf, right? Mary Newbert's here. Hello, Mary. We love you. Damian Smith, very good morning. Top of the morning to you.
Lindenberg, Scotland.
Good morning, Richie. I always find intriguing how everybody throws a T in my name. Everybody.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Whenever they call me Richie, they put a T in it. But when it's Richard, there is no T in it. And then when it's Dick, there is no T in it. Do you know what I mean?
Dick.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
It's the worst possible case scenario, to be honest with you. All right. And Big Andy's here. Hi, everyone. Is that like a butthole? What is that? What is that?
Hold on. I'll screw. Let me zoom
in.
It's a Sasquatch. It's doing this, like scratching his head, scratching his butt.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
It just looks like butthole. That's all I see. Sorry, my vulgarity. I've had a long day, long week, long month, long life. Deal with it, okay? Heidi's here. Hello, Miss Heidi. How are you? Everything feels so quiet in my ear tonight. I don't know what is going on. It's scaring.
A lot of Benadryl in the house.
What do you call fake noodle and pasta?
Oh boy!
All right,
We're off the rails already.
Moderators. I need a moderator. Damien's telling sad, lame dad jokes. European style, I might add. Animals here. 8 p.m. tonight. The Animal Paranormal Podcast will be on at about 7:45. He's going to come in and tell you who his guest is. And blah, blah, blah. All right. So check it out. So let's say hi to everybody that's here, and then we'll bring Ernie in, and then we'll go over the promos, and then we'll talk with Ernie, and we'll start badgering Ernie, start poking at him. Yo, what's up, Brandy? How you doing? Oh, much love.
Double G.
You got to do this first. I can't do that because I got
fat hands.
I'm just like I'm like gaping hole. I mean, that means I love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Brandy, great to see you.
D Hoot's here. Driving back in a few. Driving.
She's driving,
back
yeah.
Comma. I didn't see the comma. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Animal. See you at 7:45, Animal says. Brandy is yelling WOJO at the top of her lungs. Sam is yelling, hey.
Hey, girlfriend, hey.
Hey, Sam, hey. It's my iOS, Richie, not me. It doesn't know how to type that. Listen, I'm not falling for that shit. You type that shit right in. Oh, the T, you mean? Oh, I thought he meant the stupid joke. Heidi says, I've got Dio last in line. Oh, nice. Yeah, little Ronnie James. All right. I see you working, girl. Not working, girl. I see you working, comma, girl. Oh, fuck. You know what I mean? This stuff just happens to me. I can't help it. Well, there's everybody that's in the room for now. But all over the world, I want you to put your hands together for our guests because we're going to get right into it, man. I know we got plenty of time, but the more time. Heidi, I'm Patrick Doyle caught me. Wink, wink. Right, Ernie? Hello, Ernie.
Hey!
Here we go.
His face is so red.
Sorry. Heidi, I was notified. I was not notified either. I tripped onto the announcement. Oh, really? There was no notification for this? Interesting. We'll have to check that out on my end. We got a lot of transition going on. We got a producer and executive producer. Things are getting a little, a little rearranged. We got some stuff going on. Anyways, everybody welcome Ernie Davieau to the show. Ernie's got a great encounter that I was just absolutely blown. Oh, there we go. Blown. I like that better. blown away by. And I wanted him to come on, and WOJO wanted him to come on and share his story with everybody and tell everybody his story. But before we get into his story, we're going to show, we like to banter and have a little fun. And at some point, Ernie, tonight, I'm going to bring up some of my evidence and WOJO's evidence, some that I get on my own and us as a team, and have you kind of check it out with us and see what you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of, I like to get the guest perspective. A lot of my guests have already seen it. It could be redundant. I don't know, but it's good to bring it back and get different perspectives and let them hear the different perspectives. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I apologize if anybody didn't get a notification. I don't know what that's about. We had some trouble with StreamYard. StreamYard's not talking to Google Drive, and StreamYard doesn't talk even to you have to connect it to get haunted. It's just been an absolute pain in my ass. They want to go up $200 a year right there. You know what I mean? I just want a good product and so everybody can enjoy themselves. The pictures are all crystal clear. I've stepped up to the plate and paid for good internet, so it's directly connected to my laptop, so you guys can have a good show, so I can have a good show, and then we got StreamYard over here just smoking major blunts. just baked out of their minds doing nothing. Let's see. Brandy says, Ernie! I'm guessing that's the way she said it, bro.
Yeah.
I got one. Let's see. Heidi says, I got one, just didn't hear it. Oh, you got the telepathic notification, Henry, the best kind. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It's it's Saturday, people. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the weekend, man. This ain't no Sunday show. This ain't no Monday show. This is a Saturday show. If you don't like naughty words and middle fingers, you're probably in the wrong area.
Must be a Halloween hangover.
Yeah, we are very serious researchers, but we like to play fuck once in a while. So get over it and get over yourself. All right, here we go. Evidence never gets old, keeps it fresh and not buried. Absolutely. Damien, man, I'm telling you, bro, I have it right here. I have the recordings right here. I can tell you what it says. I'm downloading it into this app that I have, and I'm going through it, and it's just astounding. And yeah, let me take down some of my notes. Let's see. Some of my very professional notes. I have them in my phone, all the notes and timestamps. But last night I didn't expect it. It was like the last 15 minutes of the last 3 hours, and I'm sitting there. It's probably not going to happen. And I'm over here. What the hell was that? Going back, and I wrote down growl 210. What the F? That's what I wrote. WTF at 2:10, 2 hours and 10 minutes. I wrote what the F. I'm over here going, what is this still going tapping? You can hear the plastic of the peanut butter jar, bro. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, that's plastic. Like something's digging in it. And the stick theory could be true. It could be the stick hitting inside the peanut butter jar, bro. It's like, that shit's real, and we have it. And then there's a point where something's walking by the gifted chair. You hear the crunch, the break. There's like a break or something. And the dude sounds irritated and just goes, ugh. Like it's a guttural, like fucking guy left me fucking peanut butter again. What an asshole. Where's my zingers? You know what I mean?
Or it could have been a slight burp, or it could have been something else.
Dude, I don't know, man. But I'm writing all this stuff down going, what the hell? 152.12, guttural, crack, followed by a break. 131 and 30 seconds, 131 and 34 seconds. In between there is guttural, just straight guttural for 4 seconds. Just irritated, man. Oh, I'm telling you. I think he likes the peanut butter. I just think he wants his zingers back, Ian Murphy. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. The moderator himself is in the house. Thank you. You remember the rules? No pants, right? All right, good. Patrick Doyle says, hey there, Damien. If you are new here, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notify button. We go out and do investigations. Let's get with some quick promos, if that's okay with you, Mr. Ernie.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to leave you backstage because we ran out of grapes, and the lady doesn't fan you after 8 or after 6. Sorry. Let's see. No worries, man. No sleeves, no pants. Got it. Good boy. Way to that dude writes shit down. He probably got a tattoo of it. When I go to Richie's show, right? Everybody should have a Banter Richie B. Oh, by the way, do you not dig the new merch? Do you not dig it? Look how big that fucking Bigfoot is, man. Gray and black with a flat brim. What's up, right? Right? Yeah, I can't show mine because it's green and the green screen will block it out. But my shirt says keep calm and squatch on. And he's sitting there in the hoosa with his hands out. Yeah, boy. Yeah, we got all kinds of things in the new store. Please go check it out. It's really cool stuff. Now, the promos are in a slide, so I'll stop and go. So let's get right after this. All right, folks, check it out. Check it out. Here we go. Dark Realm TV, baby. Oh, wait, I got to pause it, Richard. Yeah, because we had to do this. This is the technical issues we were having, is that we had all these slides set up and then they were just gone. Bobby Lee came in and did her magic, and here we are. So Dark Realm TV, we will be on Dark Realm TV. I know the date, but no one's given me the okay to announce it. Animal, are you still here? Are you announcing the date of when that's coming on? If you're still here, Animal. He's probably not here. He's going to get ready for his show. I'm sure it takes like 18 hours. So Dark Realm TV, just so if you don't know, Dark Realm TV is based on the, I'm just going to say it because it's their dime, not mine. It's based on like a Netflix where you just kind of go on and click and go. It'll be on every Roku TV going forward. It'll be on every Fire Stick, and it will be on Apple TV. So Banter with Richie B podcast and other live events. We will have roundtables, specials, exclusives, things that you won't really see anywhere else because we're going to be doing it with the owners of Dark Realm. Or maybe we have a roundtable about Sasquatch. Maybe we share our lives directly to theirs, just to get everybody to go over and watch some of it. You will always see it, obviously, on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. So Dark Realm TV, you're talking. I didn't see Animal come back and answer me. Dark Realm TV will be on every Roku, every Fire Stick, and Apple TV. And that is, let's just say it is probably like next week, to be honest with you. Seriously. I have the date. I just don't know if I can say it. So here, and then we got to hit continue. Let's go. All right, here's our boys right here, right, everybody? The Vogel Brothers, the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival, June 7th, 2025. Who's going to be at this festival? Raise your hand. Oh, look at Ernie's hand. Everybody you see here on this screen right now will be on at the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival, including Mike Trainer, Dave McCullough, Gene Tewksbury. The list goes on, man. All kinds of great, fun people. We will be promos till the cows come home, man. I think Barnard's bringing up his candle business up there. He's going to be a vendor up there. Boots on the ground, Bigfoot Investigations team will have a great presence, if not all of us there. I would love to do that and get a big banner by then up and hang it over by podcasts and stuff and get everybody involved and just having a blast and helping the Vogels out and letting them do this wonderful thing. So a lot of the stuff that they're raising money for goes to the kids, the next generation, learning about the wilderness, learning, obviously, the outdoor itself, learning about cryptids and things like that might spark their interest. And you'd be very surprised, as I was at Charmin Fair Farm, where about 30 kids in that time that we were there came over knowing all kinds of things about Bigfoot and loved them. They had shirts and jackets and bags, and they were into it, man. Got to give it to them, right? So you'll be hearing plenty about that. And then going forward here, do I got more? What do I got next? Oh, there it is. That's our new merch, Banter Richie B merch, and much more at banterwithrichieb.com. The trick is, one of the things that's coming up as 404 not found. So what happened was that we had to change over the link to banterrichieb.com without the /shop. That is old. You can double click that and still get into our merchandise. But it's not like it's gone. Just double click it if you see that 404 code. But this is the new revamped one. I love Bigfoot. The hat that I'm wearing, I fell in love with it right when I saw it. The hoodies are absolute kick-ass. The product is great. So make sure you get over there, help the cause, help pay for the internet if you don't mind. You know what I mean? So we can continue to bring good stuff to you guys. Yeah, we keep that hush though. Supposed to say things, Damien. And the two of them together are just a dynamic team that a lot of people just don't have. So this is kind of cool. We're kind of messing around with the Bigfoot. I wish his body matched his head, but you know, he went to the salon and got some hair color done apparently on his head. So these are all the places you can find us. You can see at the bottom of the screen. Please like and subscribe. We upload to Amazon, iHeart, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Like and subscribe, but also on Facebook, man. Make sure you follow us on the Facebook. I've been using that a lot more, so make sure you check all that out. Okay, guys. And we'll be doing more of that. But the main thing is watch that Dark Realm TV that's coming up. That's going to get really interesting really fast. Is that the one I want? No, I don't want that little. No. There we go. Thank you. So let's see if I missed any comments. I'll check them out right now. Henry says, I read somewhere in Bigfoot researchers they would sit on a stump and eat grapes and cherry. He could see Bigfoot moving. He started dropping a few on the ground. I have a friend of mine who had a relationship with a certain group of Sasquatch right here in the Bridgewater Triangle, and he fed him cherries. He sat next to a stump like this, and he put a cherry over here, and he said he could see the hands come through the bamboo. There was like a bamboo patch, and he could see him come over there, and they would take the cherry and eat him. And he just kept doing it, and he goes, it was the weirdest thing. I felt like I had an agreement where I wouldn't turn around and go, aha, and snap a picture. He goes, I just went there, and that's where I sat. He goes, I was scared the first time, and then after that, it was like, that was the deal we had, and it was very strange. And he's actually the one I turned to when I started having my experiences, and I couldn't trust anybody. I didn't know what the hell to do next. And he said, get out a gift and stump, bro. And it's been brilliant ever since. So let's see. Everybody's saying hi to a Bigfoot stuck his arm out picking up the fruit. Yeah, that's what I just said. Which one are you? Who are you talking to? Does he know my buddy? He's right in Vermont, actually, now. Let's see. D who will probably be. All right. Can you guys just exchange phone numbers? Good Lord. You know, let's see. Oh, Amber Robinson's here. Hello, Amber. Hello, little fawn. Hello, little fawn. Oh, sorry. Every once in a while, I randomly go off because we all know the meds wear off around 6:03. You know what I mean? Ernie, brother, what's up, my man?
No, not too much.
Well, where you from, bro?
Oh, I'm formerly from Western Massachusetts, Westfield, Russell area. That they're going to have that Bigfoot Festival next year, and right now I live in Ohio.
Really?
Yep.
No shit. Now, when we talked last, right? Remember I told you. I remember when we had you prior to the show, which I've never done before. It's WOJO's fault. And I was like, I don't want to hear it. I reluctantly heard it, and I'm blown away by it. So this will probably be the only interview where I don't like cut you off and go, wait a minute. Are you telling me? Now I know. So if I do that, I'm just bullshitting here, right? Because I know the story, but the story's mind blowing, and I wanted everybody to hear it because, you know, I have a loyalty to everybody on the side. They're not like audience or fans or anything. They're like friends and family, man. You know what I mean? So, I am going to ask you this: you were kind of raised to be a hunter. You were a hunter for a very long time.
Yeah, since I was a kid. Yeah, we lived in the hill towns. You guys know where it is.
Yep.
Montgomery, you know, just above from the Russell side, you'd have to cross the Orinoco, the Westfield River there, and go up that mountain, Mount Toccoa. And just on the other side of Mount Toccoa is Montgomery Mountain. So I was born up there.
So during hunting season, how many times would you say you would hunt?
Every hunting season. Like
every day, every other, like how does it work when you're a kid?
It depends on what the season is. If it's take shotgun season, that's 1 week a year in the state of Massachusetts. So we would plan on usually only hunting like 2 or 3 days, because we probably get our deer or harvest within those 2 or 3 days. We wouldn't be out of school or anything like that for the whole week. You know, you're looking at the weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
getting older, we would hunt up around Great Barrington, Pittsfield. We'd go up into Vermont, New Hampshire, all over New England. Actually, I've hunted, and Granville was very accessible to me. The Cobble Mountain region. So we did a lot of hunting and scouting in that area just in our time off. We'd get out of work or whatever. We would go up and through there, and we'd check out fishing spots and go down to the local bookstore. At the time, you go to a little bookstore, corner bookstore, and they would sell topographical maps in there. So we would pick an area and we'd get a topographical map, and then we would go into that area and we'd mark off on a topographical map exactly, everything that we were seeing in there. If we were tracking deer, we'd be marking rubs and scrapes and, deer runs, things like that. So that way there, when the season hit, we basically knew where the deer were. There was high probability where they were going to be to begin with. That's why we were so successful at doing it in those areas, and a lot of them.
Yeah. And this particular time of this, you were on your own. You were solo, right?
Yeah, I was known to do that. A lot of people, they were terrified, for a better word, of going up into that particular area that I was in. A, it's just a spooky thing in there. B, there was a lot of stories, we call them legends or whatever. A lot of things that were documented in the Westfield Evening newspaper. They're probably still there. Probably get them out of the Westfield Public Library. A lot of sightings and different things that I don't want to get into too much because it can be scary, but physically to get in there, and the Vogel brothers know this themselves, particularly Tim. New England has areas that it's like the Pacific Northwest, I guess you would call it, right? The canopy during the summertime is just so thick that it's actually could be dark in there, and the trees are what they call old world trees. They've been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. In the terrain, we have a lot of heavy mountain laurel in New England, so you've got to be careful because it's like going through a gym center. It's hard to get through that brush line. The branches are so big, there could be anything in there. Could be a bear in there. You never even know there was a bear in there until you got in there yourself, and you're not going to be able to run out of there. The other thing was you have a lot of not just ravines. You have a lot of I'm just going to call them drop offs. Like you have the Granville Gorge. You guys know that one. The Granville Gorge. I mean, they of course they dug the majority of that out, but there's places up around there that it might only be like maybe 4 or 5 feet wide, but it might be 100 feet deep. And you're not going to see it until you step out of that mountain laurel and you're going to go in there. So you got to be very, very careful what you're doing around those areas. And we have a lot of weather anomalies up around the New England area. When those ice storms particularly come in, you have a lot of natural made structures. Okay. Yeah. People who grew up in the area like you guys and the Vogel brothers, they understand, they can tell the difference between a natural one and, geez, we just had an ice storm in here and it just blew trees down and took the tops off, blew them everywhere. So, you see a lot of that, but there are things that are pretty obvious, when it's getting blown all around, pertaining to when you've got a clear area and there's a structure in the middle of a clear area. And I know both of you guys, and I know part of your stories, and you guys have seen that up there. Oh, yeah. Even including myself, we would walk by those things. We would just, it was, we didn't think anything of it at the time. Back when I was a kid, we weren't looking for anything like that. I didn't even really believe that they were even out there. Even though I had heard of the Patty video and everything filmed, I just figured and seen it. I just figured that, well, that's probably an anomaly. There's only one of them, and it's out there, and probably now it's gone. Who knows? So you wash it off. So I was washing up a lot of things that were going on. Only to think back in my earlier years after this incident, and that was mind blowing. But that area up there, like you were asking Richie, is steep in history, and there weren't too many guys that wanted to go in there, and that's what I loved. I like to go in where nobody else is going, and you can figure that out when you're no longer seeing cans and bottles and paper bags or whatever. Now you're in deep enough is where you can relax and do whatever you want. You're hunting now.
Yeah.
And you also in the United States Air Force. You were a veteran for the Air Force.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I learned a little bit there. Learned how to take down information. Write everything down or memorize it, whatever the case may be.
Right.
They didn't teach me too much about guns. I already knew about that at a very young age. Some people are amazed at the fact that New England area growing up, particularly in my generation, you were carrying a shotgun when you were 11 years old. That like the passage. You were out there carrying it around, and then it got too heavy. Maybe you had a brother like me. I'd hand him the shotgun. He'd be my little porter, carry the shotgun for a little while, but yeah. And I've been involved in martial arts for a long time. And I think all that came into play that day. You just make those decisions in your mind that whether you going to run away from it or are you going to face it? What are your options? Do you think you can run fast enough or, whatever, but you'll hear it in the story in itself. I hear a lot of people say they can outrun them, or they did outrun them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. You only outrun things if they want you to outrun them.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's how that. When you were out there hunting, you're on your own, and you've done this many times, and this. You want to just get right into the story? So because I always liked when you first told it. One of the things that stood out to me, it wasn't just about the sighting that you had of Sasquatch. It was the travel up to it that I really paid attention to, and it made so much sense to me, and I found it very intriguing on how the hunters think. Like WOJO's a hunter, you're a hunter. And I'm a veteran myself, 11 Bravo grunt, you know what I mean? So we learn different things with the winds and how to keep your scent out of the way just from humans, never mind animals. So, but I'm interested in hearing that long version of it so everybody can understand what happened to you and how profound it is and life changing. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. I'll get right into it. I just like to explain one thing to everybody is, very few people and WOJO and Richie are two of the few people that actually listened to it and got information out of it. There's information from the very beginning to the very end of it. And that's one of the reasons why I've stuck around so long is I felt that it was essential for people who are doing research out there. It took me a long time. It took me over 35 years to actually come out and start talking about this. And you'll find out why. But the information that is there is going to be bringing you beyond the tracks. Because as any hunter knows, if you have tracks and that's all you have, you can't eat them.
Right.
You might get in the snow to maybe eat the tracks, And a lot of people will say, well, tracks aren't proof of existence. The hell they ain't. Okay, I'll put it out there for everybody. The hell they ain't. Because if you're a deer hunter or anything else, and you wanted to get yourself a deer, you're looking for the tracks first. Now, if you're tracking that deer and you see maybe grizzly bear tracks, well, you can put that in your mind and say, well, that's not evidence that they're really around here.
Right.
And chance getting eaten by something that's bigger and badder than you while your deer just prances away. So think about that for a little while. That is definitely evidence that they are there. Okay. But with that, I'll jump right into it for you. Okay.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I may stop here and there and just let the people know, that where you're going to pick up some of this key information. But Richie's right. As you all know, as I was talking about a little bit earlier about the topographical maps, we picked them up. We'd study them. We'd study the area. We'd look at the easiest way to get in using the topo on there. It'll tell you elevation, and we'd match it up with maybe springs or brooks or whatever that were on there, or old cellar holes. We would put them on there because we knew that the farmers, they probably grew some apple trees. So we would be trying to find that property and look for the apple trees. And this place was had several farms around it, around the base of the mountain. There were apple orchards. And that particular morning is I would say I took my weather thing off the radio there to find out what the weather was going to be like. And when I got there, I figured out which way the wind was going to blow, so I would know which way to come in on that mountain. And I had already known where the deer were bedding down on the side of that on the side of the mountain there. So I had parked across the street from an old fire road, an access road into that part of the reservoir. I was basically on the Cobble Mountain Reservoir where I parked. So I had to cross the street and then walk in from there. So it was a crispy morning. I had the wind basically blowing right at me from the top of the mountain all the way down right at me. So if anything was up there, it wasn't going to smell me. And that's how I attacked that situation. But as I walked in, there's a little a boulder. I just loved it. No, I don't think anybody knows to this day. They do, but they keep it a secret. But there's a boulder there. And as you approach the boulder, it would have been on my left-hand side. As you approach it, you've got a face of an Indian, and somebody painted that on there. And as you get to the front of it, it's a different face of an Indian. And as you get around to the other side of it, it's still another one. It has 3 separate faces on there, So I called it Indian Rock. And it's a little bit after that I was able to access an old, like a tractor road that a farmer probably would have used, or a fire road that the Boy Scouts in those areas actually, or they used to maintain. It was part of the thing that you would do with your troop and everything. It was very, very good to do anyways, But I started going up the side of that mountain on that, I'll call it a little access road or trail or whatever. And it was crispy out that morning. It was, I could see my breath, some of the leaves were, had some frost on it, not a whole heck of a lot. They had frost on it, so they could crunch, and I knew that I had to sneak into a certain point because where these deer had bedded down it's what I used to call Stonehenge right there, because there's these boulders right there. And I don't know if one of them's called Balancing Rock or whatever, but one of them's like 40 feet tall. And in between them, I had found evidence that deer were bedding down in there. And for people that aren't familiar with hunting tactics, I used to carry a pair of binoculars on me. I think they were 6 power. They're 2x6. So I could stay off trail and I could actually, watch up ahead of me or watch the track without getting on their trail and messing up, putting my scent all over the place. So I figured they'd be bedded down right up there and I'd be able to get in there. And if I was quiet enough, be able to sneak right up and bag my deer and drag them down the hill, put them in the trunk of the car and take them to hang them someplace and process them. But as I got really close to it, I scared them. They heard me. They didn't smell me. At least I thought they heard me. But they jumped up, and anybody that hunts can tell that when a deer jumps up as pertaining to when maybe a squirrel drops an acorn out of a tree, okay, or maybe hops, or maybe you might hear a wood grouse in there getting ready to take off. Little things like that. But you can definitely tell a deer when a deer jumps up. It maybe was startled, but I figured there was probably maybe 3 or 4 deer from the sounds of them jumping up. And they proceeded to head over straight away from me. Now, that little access road I was on, it's covered with a lot of boulders, flat boulders. Okay, so you got to be careful. But at that point, I made up my mind that what I was going to do. Rather, most people would say, they're going away from me. They jumped. I'm never going to catch up to them. It'd be too difficult. But I figured, well, I'll take my chances. I'll give it a shot, And I knew that it hooked around just a little bit by those boulders and then would parallel where they were heading. And I know that about, I don't know, maybe 200, maybe 300 yards up. I'm not quite sure the exact distance on that. There was a dog, they call it a dog leg. Part of it went straight down the other side to where there was a farm with apple orchards. And right where I was going to try to ambush them was that dog leg, and it turned right and it went back around. Okay, in between it there was a stone wall, and Brooke was on the other side of that little dog leg. So I figured that if I could get out there and get out in front of them, that they would have to come through these little saplings and stuff. There was some beech nuts in there and things like that, that I would probably get a good shot if I could get out there. So I proceeded to follow them just to their left. And what I would do is, as they moved, I would anticipate roughly how long. It sounded like they were foraging. They're bending down, they're eating stuff on the ground, or maybe eating some sapling, greens, twigs, or whatever. And as they moved, I would move. But what I was doing, I wasn't walking like you would just walk down the street. I was in toe heel. So that would sound more like a four-legged animal. If you walk with the way you normally walk, that's how you can tell. You can tell a person when they're walking. But I was deliberately walking toe heel as silently as I could. So if they did pick up my sound, they may be convinced that I was possibly another deer or something like that. So I continued to do that. I couldn't see them because we were separated by a little ridge line. They were just on the other side of that and headed straight out that way. I could hear something on the other side of them, and I just figured that was probably another deer, maybe a buck or something like that. And, that all was fine there. They didn't sound like they were worried. Like I said, they'd stop every now and then, forage a little bit, then move on. I managed to get out in front of them. And I set up right on that dog leg, not right directly on the corner of the dog leg, but a little bit in on that dog leg. And, well, let me tell you this, as I came up to that dog leg, of course, it's open, a little bit more open. I was looking at it like I didn't want a squirrel being in there. I didn't want maybe bobcat, whatever. I didn't want any kind of an animal in there that was going to tip them deer off to watch out. I didn't want them going back out towards the brook. I wanted them to come directly at me. And I assure you, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything there at all. So I set up right there. I just scooched down just a little bit because I knew that they're going to come, and they were going to come up over that stone wall. When they came over the stone wall from those saplings, there was some old pines. They're big, thick old pines. Not a lot of them, just a couple of them. So it gives you a good scope of what I was looking at. And I picked out a spot right there where I honestly believe they're going to come over that stone wall. And if they came over that stone wall, that was probably maybe it would have been maybe a 45-yard shot, somewhere's in there. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty easy shot if you practice with your shotgun. And I carried slugs in there. I never carried buckshot in there. I had one in my pocket just in case I had to go through some of that mountain laurel that you heard me talking about a little bit earlier. You never know what's really in there. And if you have to track something, you want to make sure you've got something in your shotgun to protect you or anything like that. And in Massachusetts, I just want to put this out there for everybody, because I know some people say, geez, you had a handgun. Yeah, I had a handgun. I had a handgun for protection. I went in with a knapsack, with some survival stuff on it. I recommend that everybody does something like that. You don't know, you're by yourself. You could have a slip and fall. And if you do, nobody's coming in there looking for you for like 48 hours. You're on your own. So you better be able to survive for at least that. Then they got to find you. So I had that sidearm on me too, and I had my 12 gauge. But I got into position, scooched down just a little bit, and drew up on that stone wall area where I figured they were going to come through. And the reason why I drew up on that was because I didn't want any movement from my end. Because as they come over, they're going to be looking for movement. If they see movement, they're going to be skittish. They could go left, go right. I wanted them to come almost directly at me. And I heard them stop again. They were browsing in there. And I couldn't see them, but I could hear them, and that's when I caught movement on my left-hand side, about my 9 o'clock position, maybe a little bit less than 9 o'clock. And I glanced over there. I looked over there. I'm trying to keep cognizant of what's going on over on that other side of that stone wall. And I see something laying down near this tree. And I'm figuring this was about probably the 35. We had actually measured that off. And I believe on a show I was on there able to Google Earth, and I believe it comes up at around 38 yards or something like that. But I like to, because that's originally what I've ever said was 35 yards. Even though it's wrong, it was 38 by Google, figuring that they dropped that pin exactly where I was standing. But this was laying next to that tree. And, a lot of people say, well, how can you mistake something for that and this and that? Believe me, just go on some of these forums, you see people mistaking. Well, they're not mistaken. They're drawing circles around stumps that are out there. the black pictures, and, that's a mistake. Sorry. You should at least go over and take a look, because I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of stumps in the woods that look like all kinds of things.
Yep. Absolutely.
But it drew my attention, and I figured that that's a buck laying down. Now I was brought up, I don't know if it's law or what it is, but I was brought up that you never shoot a deer while it's laying down. If it was sleeping or anything, you're going to get yourself in trouble. They'll know at the check-in station. And it's like, well, you believe your elders. I mean, how are they going to know that it was sleeping? My brother and I used to always joke about that, but that's the way I was taught to hunt, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to let it get up, but it wasn't really getting up all that quick, and I could still hear them deer on the other side of the stone wall. And it started kind of scooching up to the tree a little bit. And, I would shift my focus back over there to that stone wall to see if I'm seeing movement yet, at least how close they are to that stone wall, because it appeared that the head on this one here was on the other side of that tree. So I knew that my chances were probably better. If they came over that stone wall, I could swing and shoot pretty quick like that. But it scooched up to this tree a little bit, and now its body mass was a lot bigger. So I'm instantly thinking that's a bear, and at this range right here, I don't know if he's going to see me, if he's going to smell me, or, what's going to happen here, So I swung my 12 gauge right on it, and I don't have a bear permit, but I'm concerned about this. I don't want to shoot a bear. I came for a deer, and I don't have a permit for a bear, so I could be in a lot of trouble unless it did bum rush me to try to kill me or something, which would be kind of hard to prove, but whatever there. And it got up even more on that tree, like scooched right up to it. Like it looked more like a guy with his head on the other side of the tree, kind of holding onto the tree with one arm, with his right arm. And probably I'd say, I couldn't guesstimate the height of it at that time, but it looked like a really heavy set guy. And I'm saying, oh God, I'm not the only one in here. There must have been a hunter laying down right there, and he must have heard the deer coming through. So, now my focus goes back on those deer that are over there. I'm pretty sure that's a guy now, because that's a silhouette that I'm kind of picking up. His head is hidden a little bit there. And I'm not concerned. Normally people wear orange and things like that in the woods, but some guys, and I hate to admit it, but some people like myself, when I go in deep, I'm not wearing orange. Okay. Just something that I do. You should be doing it. Don't go doing it. You never know. You got to go in pretty far or know your area. And he started getting up. It would appear to be even more, and now I'm switched back on him, and I'm looking at him. I'm saying, dang, this guy's pretty big, but not, still it's a guy. So I decide what I'm going to do is, I know that I'm not in his peripheral. I need to move myself up just a little bit, because if them deer do come over that stone wall, we could have an accident. I don't know if he's carrying buckshot or slugs, or, he might go wild with his 12 gauge out there. I've seen him do that. So I moved up a little bit to put myself into his peripheral. I didn't want to give away my position with too much movement, but I knew that, I would be up just a hair on him. So if the deer came over, because he had his head on the other side of that tree, he would have to to look over in my area, and he'd pick me up if he was swinging on a deer, trying to come between us. So it was right about that point that he was fully standing at that time. And I knew that at that point that it was absolutely the biggest human being that I had ever seen. I've seen some big people. My father's brother was 6'11", well over 400 pounds. That's a pretty big guy. I'm 6'3", and I can assure you that a 6'11" man is a pretty darn big man, over 400 pounds. And I'm looking for a twig or something on that tree, and I seen a piece of moss. I decided I was going to need to take some information here, just in case. I mean, who knows, so that I could possibly go over there and measure that off on that tree. And that's when all hell broke loose on the other side of that stone wall. It just, like I told Richie and WOJO here, if anybody's ever gone to a gym and seen a kick bag, imagine taking a baseball bat and hitting a kick bag with a baseball bat. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like it wasn't branches breaking, it was limbs snapping, it was boulders like clacking off each other. They were boulders, they weren't just rocks, they were boulders. It was a knockdown drag out going on the other side of that stone wall. And that's when he decided that he was going to come around my side of the tree. And he swung his leg around my side of the tree and his head around my side of the tree, and his other leg was coming around the tree, and he was still looking over that stone wall, and he looked straight over at me, and I knew right there on the spot, I knew this was not a man at all. The only words that I had that morning were, this was a Sasquatch. That's the only thing that I knew. This was a Sasquatch. It's pretty easy at that point to see that. And he looked over at me, looked back over at the stone wall, and then he snapped it right back at me, like you can make that surprise look on your face, like what the, yeah, he caught me in his peripheral, just like I had planned. If it was another hunter that was standing over there, this forest person caught me in his peripheral and looked dead at me. And that's when he decided that he was going to, I call it a broadside. He came around that tree and he directly faced me, and I've got my 12 gauge pointed right directly at the middle of his chest. I don't know what's going down here. I'm suspecting highly that he's on a pinch point, that there were others in the trees or whatever it was down there, or something was driving them, and then sprung an ambush point from there, and anything that got through it, he was going to finish it off. That was what I was thinking. I knew there was more than one, highly likely more than one, from the sounds of everything. And that's when, and this is the part where I tell people that for the longest time I was quiet on this. It would have been easy peasy. I could have gone, I tell these guys, I could have gone down. We all have a great sense of humor, and you'll find a lot of people have been traumatized or anything like that. They have great sense of humor. We love to see people laugh. I could have gone down to the local bar and got myself a free beer off of everybody in the bar. Guess what I just saw,
Yeah.
But no, this thing has got to really put a clincher on that one. Is he's put both his hands out, and I have all these drawings on. I hate to make the plug here. I'm not going to make a total plug, but on T-shirts, exactly what he did. And I tell people, if you're going to do any of this stuff, and you need to, because what's your plan? If one of these things comes out on a trail, what are you going to do? You're going to run? You're going to scream? You're going to faint? Our next step is no longer tracks. Our next steps are really no longer even hair. We have that DNA. We really do. Our next step is communication, just like Jane Goodall. It's communication. What are we going to learn off a DB, a dead body? What are we going to learn? Well, there's nothing really. Okay, it's got hair. Okay, we can get some DNA off it. We can find out if its heart's in its fingers or if it's in its foot. You know, that's all you're going to find out. But I can tell you right now, from all of the evidence and everything, the Ron Moorhead tapes, these things can talk. They have a language. They're intelligent. So anybody that wants to say, well, you know, how come I have never seen one? I don't want to put you down, but I'm pretty sure this thing is a lot smarter than you. They are masters of the woods. Okay. But he started taking steps towards me, and he puts both hands in front of him. His elbows were into his waist. His hands were about shoulder width apart, but they were between the chest and the waist, and his fingers were all together, pointer fingers, everything all together, just like that. Thumb alongside the hand, facing straight up towards the sky, with his palm facing me, both palms, and pumped them 2 times. And I'm like, you know, put yourself in my shoes. I mean, it looked like it scared me many years later because it knew how to approach me. And that's what it's doing. It's approaching me. It's closing the distance from 35 yards. And as it walked a few more steps, it actually took its right hand, closed fist, pointer finger out, pointed directly towards my chest, and then pointed toward his own chest. And I know the meaning of that. I've heard other people tell me the meaning of that. I've heard that it was meant that we were brothers. I've also heard, I've been looking this up for all these years, and it's not just, and I'm going to spill the beans here. It's not just American Sign Language. Okay, this is old. This is real old. A lot of people want to talk about the woo and everything else, but you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with these things. I think they can do a lot, but it did that, and I took that to mean that we were brothers. And somebody else told me it meant that it recognized me as master of the woods, a master of the woods, and maybe so, because it did that double take. It was surprised. It was like how the heck did I get up there? I would have had to have gotten by all the other ones near the stone wall. You know, was it because I was trying to replicate or think of myself as being a deer and a 4-legged animal and walking like that? I don't know. Did I walk through the veil? I don't know. But it continued walking towards me. And each time it did something, it would look at me. It was studying me. It was studying my reactions. And at that point, I had lowered my shotgun. I had lowered it. I was confident that it didn't mean me any harm or anything. I was completely blown away. And at the same time, I'm trying to take in even more information. I'm checking my wind direction, my breath. I had a compass mounted on it. It was a hand-me-down shotgun. And compasses are no good on shotguns, you know, because of the metal or whatever. But it was there, so I figured I would check it. You know, so could smell the gun oil. A plane went over us, headed towards Bradley International Airport. I was checking everything I possibly could, and I was taking notes in my head as much as I could. I'm figuring if I live through this, if somehow I live through this, there's going to be a day that I'm going to obviously be able to talk about it. It's here. It's here now. I'm talking about it now because there's so much information here that everybody wants to put off to the side. You want to go around banging on trees and doing silly things. Okay. Oh, these things are highly important. Exactly. Well, you know, when we don't know, and a lot of people have never heard this information, you know, banging on trees is real, but there's a reason why they do that, you know. And but it continued walking towards me, and that's when it did another hand gesture, or hand gestures. It took its hands again, basically the same position, put them down now instead of the palms up. The palms were down, you know, and the elbows were still in. They were down, facing the ground, you know, not straight out in front of them, but if you just took your arms and put them like perpendicular to the ground, that's what it did. It put them both straight down again, fingers closed, thumb, just like I showed you with the hand signal up. And I'm taking this stuff in. I'm saying to myself, man, I'm looking at its hair. I'm looking at its face. I'll guesstimate maybe it was 25 yards away at that point. And I got to mean that it didn't have any food, because the next gesture it made was it turned its pond straight up. So I'm putting two together. I'm saying, well, it doesn't have any food. There's the deer over there having an unfortunate accident. Maybe we should call OSHA for them guys over there. But it sounds to me like they lost a major battle over there. So I'm thinking he's talking about food. And he was set up on a pinch point, and they had no food, and they were looking for food. So, like I said, I'm taking all of this in. I'm taking in the color of his hair, the length of his hair, and you're going to get more information on that in a couple of minutes here. And it's going to put a lot together for you. When you're looking at fight or flight and uncanny valley. If you never heard of it, I'll explain it for you. But he continued walking towards me, and I'm thinking to myself that there's going to come a time that it's obviously going to want me to parlay a hand signal back to him or whatever, and I don't know what's going to happen if I don't know what to do. So I'm really thinking, I'm really trying to remember these things, what it did, what I can possibly use, and it gets closer to me, and it does another hand gesture to me. It pointed over my shoulder. It was right hand on the left and on the right over my shoulder. And I took that to mean, because it was kind of shocked at me being there, having to do that double take on me. Where did I come from? So I'm like, okay, this is my thinking. You've only got so much time to think, to decipher information. And I'm trying to drink it in. I'm trying to, breathe through your nose. This is okay. This is weird, but this is okay. Like I said, he wrecked me getting a drink down at the bar, because I was going to need one. Okay. I'm like, boy. And he got closer, and he got to the point is where he was only a couple of feet from me, And over the years, 5 years, I've stood fast on this for a particular reason. Now people are all claiming they're all about the same height and this and that, but we'll get into that in a minute. But he held his hand out. Now, he was close enough that he dropped his hand down, straight down in between him and I. So his hand was only a couple feet from me. And mind you, I was still kind of studying him, his hair length, the color of his hair. Now at 35 yards, I thought that he was black, like all black. You really couldn't tell. He blended in so well, the skin color, the tone, everything, like an ashy black, like you look at any guy with facial hair, they're shaven from like here down. They have hair exactly where you have hair. They have hair. Look at the back of a man's hand. You'll see hair where it breaks off, and then the knuckles are bare. Then a little bit of hair. Then the knuckles are bare again. That's what I seen. The hair was about 5-6 inches long. The forearm exactly where you have hair. They have hair exactly the same way, just a little bit longer. The light was just hitting the hair just right, so I could see for sure that it wasn't black hair. It was like a dark brown hair, just dark brown. Like you could mistake some people. You say, hey, they got black hair. No, they don't. I mean, look at my eyebrows. You think those are brown. Ironically, that was the only thing that kept its color. Everything else turned white like this. So, but yeah, and I noticed like a red tint to him, a little bit of a red tint to him, and maybe that was the way the light was refracting through the hair or whatever, and the skin was like dark brown, like an ashy dark brown. It's just so hard to describe some colors to people, but it just blended in so well with the hair. Like I said, you couldn't make out facial features at that distance, not all that much, but it had its palm facing up, and he put his palm in front of me for me to look at his palm, and I'm feeling a little bit apprehensive, a little concerned, really kind of concerned. Like, is this thing going to make a move on me? Because now it's this close, because it knew I was armed, and to see my sidearm, is it going to do something now? I was a trained fighter, something I don't think I talked about in the beginning before my interview. I hold not just one black belt, I hold several black belts in several different styles. So I'm watching body movement, I'm watching head, shoulders, and yeah, I'm making eye contact. And I've heard people say, eye contact with me. Well, let me tell you something. Yeah, I'm making eye contact because I want to see every movement that this thing is doing, and yeah, for you out there, the people out there that are wondering, well, you made eye contact. What color were his eyes? Blue. Take a look at a husky's eyes. It was husky blue. I was dropping my hand on my sidearm at that point, and there wasn't much that was going to get by him. He picked up on my body movement, and I was really trying to be coy about it, really sly about it, because I was unsure. I just had to get that in my hand, because if something happened, I didn't stand a chance. I did not stand a chance. To give you an idea of the height of this thing, I measured up in the tree afterwards, and I'll tell you that, but standing next to it, I was below his shoulder, just a little bit above his bicep, but below his shoulder. He was pretty big. He was every bit of 500 pounds, north of 500 pounds. Okay, I'm not going to say 1,000 pounds, because that would be an obvious thing for me. Because since I've been in so many fights in my life, I can tell if a man weighs 100 pounds, or if he weighs 200, or if he weighs 300 pounds. This and physically fit. I'm talking like, I've never seen any human being that was fit like this. This thing was ripped, and I had plenty of time to take in that information. But just as my hand was hitting my pistol grip, right in my palm, right in the center of my palm, I was just getting ready to purchase that gun. My plan was, if something went down, if he grabbed me quick, I would just pull that gun and put it right up underneath his chin, right up underneath his neck, and maybe I might get lucky, but there's more than one, so whatever. Call me wrong for that, but I really didn't feel comfortable with that. He didn't like that. He did not like that. He wanted me. He was adamant about me looking at his palm, and he took his other hand and he tapped his palm. He just tapped his palm. He wanted me to look at his palm. So now I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm looking at his palm, and I mean, I'm studying his palm, and I can tell you right now that his hand looked like our hands. His hand looked exactly like our hands. Every marking you have on your palm, he had on his palm, except one. No lifeline. And that's always kind of bothered me. And then I've heard there's people out there that are born with no lifeline like that. Okay, well, he had no lifeline. I don't know why he did that. I've heard people tell me that maybe he was asking me if we had a covenant, or he wanted to make a covenant. You should look that up, because it seems to me that, my ancestors, they were trappers. They were Indian. They had trapped for the Hudson Bay Company, and they lived just outside the Hudson Bay Company. And ironically, there are no historical accounts from any trappers ever talking about Sasquatch. And the Jesuits used to travel with them, and they took down every single note of everything that was going on. So is it possible they had a covenant with the trappers? You want the furs, we want the meat. We'll show you where the beaver is. Is that possible? So maybe he was looking at some kind of a covenant with me, because I don't know. So he did that, and he actually bowed his head towards me like respect, and turned a little bit towards that stone wall, and he put both his hands up to his mouth like you would yell, make a hand megaphone with your hands, and he whooped. And I've never heard anybody ever say they've seen him whoop, but he deliberately did 3 whoops 1.5 seconds in between each one. And anybody that wants to say, well, how do you know that? Well, I can shoot my gun and tell you how many rounds are left in my gun, and you can shoot yours too. Or, I can hear a bell ring. It's just something that I grew up with, something I was trained to do. I just the way my brain works, but it was about 1.5 seconds. I should be pretty good with timing anyways, figuring that I was a fighter. But he looked back at me again. And again, he kind of nodded at me. I mean, the feeling that I was getting all along the way that he wanted me to understand these things. And then he looked back over that stone wall and he whistled. And now it's the exact whistle that we would use in a hunting party that I've heard, just like a human being, sound just like a person whistling. It was a come here whistle. It was like a type of whistle. And then he motioned with his hand for whoever was on the other side of that stone wall to go in that direction, which was basically back towards where he originally came from. He looked at me one last time, just kind of bowed his head. That's where I came up with that he was recognizing me as a brother or a master of the woods also. And he proceeded to go out in that direction, and he didn't run. He didn't speed walk. He kind of just walked like there's not a worry in the world. He just kind of walked out past that area there. I could see the bottoms of his feet. I could see that his hands, the palms of his hands were not the same color as the tops of his hands or his face. And I think that, I mean, when we look at people, when you go to the beach and you get a tan, your palms don't tan, the palms of your feet don't tan. So they're probably worn from callus or whatever the case may be. But he proceeded to go out that way, and he very smooth, very, very smooth. And he got out to probably about the 55-yard mark. And then he turned back to face me, but still a little bit towards that stone wall area. And that's when I heard something just come crashing through that on the other side of that stone wall area, headed towards the corner of the stone wall where that dog leg is and the brook is. It was headed that way. And I mean, it was making a racket. I knew it wasn't a moose. There was no other noises, by the way, on the other side anymore. They obviously got their deer or whatever. And then I just seen a little flash of like brown go over that stone wall, the corner of that stone wall, and jump the dog leg, that path there, and then over the brook. And that's when I really picked it up. Right as it was flying, going over that brook, I could make it out. I could make out that it was something big on two legs going over that brook. And it was headed towards him. And it was a little bit clearer out there, where in between that brook and where he was. And as it got to the clearer section, I could see exactly it was another one. And this one was cinnamon colored. And when I tell people fast, they go, how fast do you think they can run? Well, I can tell you right now, they catch a deer. And if you look it up, I think a deer can go top speed of something like 38 miles an hour. And if you don't think that's fast, maybe you should go try to catch one barehanded or something. That's fast. That's faster than any Olympic runner. It's faster than any human. And this thing could outrun it. I've shot deer on the run, and this thing could outrun a deer. And I'll bet you that it could probably run for a long time. Would anything want to exert that kind of energy? Expend that kind of energy trying to chase something? No, they're not wolves. Even wolves would stop and let another wolf. They drive them into other wolves so that one can pick up the chase. Maybe that's what was going on there. But that one there got out to the bigger one, okay? And this one here was smaller, okay? But bigger than me, okay? This one was over its shoulder, all right? But still shorter head-wise, below its head, but a little bit over its shoulder. So I'm going to put that one at about 6'8". And I can tell you how I come up with that. It drives me batty when I hear people say, he was about 150 yards away and he had to be about 9 feet tall. How do you know that? How do you know that? did you measure the tree? Did you measure the telephone pole? Where did you get it from? I don't want to give anybody any hints, but you should be prepared to figure out heights and stuff. The woods can be very deceiving on distance. Things are different when you're out there. You're looking at time, distance, space, things going on around you. But it got out there, and they're both now kind of facing me, kitty corner, almost like 45 on me, but basically towards me. And they start this little chit chat going on. And I've heard the Sierra sounds and the murmuring and stuff like that. And that's what this was going on. I can tell you, I seen them doing it. I can identify that sound. And some people go, well, that one doesn't sound like that one over there. Well, you know what? I don't sound like Richie, nor do I sound like WOJO, nor do they sound like me. And if we're talking about something, you can tell by our dialect, whether we're mad, our voices change. They get louder. They get more stressed out, whatever. Same with them. That's been sent out to Scott Nelson, naval linguist. Okay. Yep. Nobody told him what it was. So he started trying to figure out what it was. And he came back and he said, they've got sentences, they got nouns, they got verbs, that is a language. But I've never heard, I don't know what that language is, but it is definitely a language. So there you folks have it right there. Take it with a grain of salt if you want to. If you want to get serious about your research, you better be serious about this. You better really, really consider what I'm telling you here. So they're doing the chit chat back and forth. And it sounded like he might have been a little bit angry. And then that big one, he points his finger right at me, like he's ratting me out. He's ratting me out. That littler one actually put his head down a little bit to look under this little sapling limb to get a look at me. So it does, and it does a double take on me. So I think that maybe what had happened was that big one there was probably the lead guy, and he was probably saying, "How the hell did this guy get by you?"
Yeah,
this is kind of weird. How did he get by you? What happened here? We'll get into that, and then you can put it all everybody can put it all together, because the only reason why I'm doing this is because I think everybody should have this information. There's information here. It's not just a story. It's not just something that you're going to go to bed and say, man, that was a good story. There's information here if you want to be serious about it and take it with you out into the woods, as some people are doing now. But he ratted me out. And I said, you son of a ratted me out. He points to the little one, and he makes a hand gesture like, you go that way. And it was a hand gesture to do like a circle around me. And then he points to his own chest, and I don't know why he did that, like for my cause, and signals on what he's going to do. He's going to make a semicircle out to the other side of me, So I'm like, okay, up until that point, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to follow him. I'm going to follow him. I'm going to track him. And I've had people say, I can't tell you how many podcasts I've been on. People are asking some crazy questions, and they're like, well, what would possess you to want to follow them? I want to know where they're going to go. I want to know, are we going to sit down and maybe have some mushrooms, or what's going on here? I'm going to have a cigarette with these guys. I want to know where they live. Do they live in a tree? Or quite obviously they can get in a tree. Up until 5 years ago, you look up any account out there, or even on forums, and people were arguing, they don't get in trees. Yeah, they do get in trees. And you know what? They do eat meat. Okay, so that's something to think about right there. They do eat meat. Although they weren't catching these deer for Santa Claus, to ride around or whatever. But they split up, and I figured that was my time to move forward, check the tree out where it was standing. I seen the piece of moss. I went over to the tree, and I stood right up to the tree, my face right up to the tree, and I measured off on the tree on top of my head where I was in relation to that mark on the tree. I was below it, quite obviously. And I took a little bit of a step back and left my hand up there, and I took my other hand, using my finger between your fingertip and your first joint is 1 inch. And I just measured up from there, and I come up with 7 foot 8 inches. Now, what I wanted to do was I wanted to Am I correct? Because, like I said, is I was hoping that this day would come, that you would all hear this, and I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I'm doing it for a reason. It's basically for the real researchers out there and the people that really want to know, are they real? You hear many stories. I've heard many eyewitness stories that people, they will not talk to anybody else. But now I'm going to look for a track. And no, I'm not going to get on the ground on my belly. No, these two beings split up to do a semicircle around me, probably to keep an eye on me. And we now know today that people understand that they're going to watch you. They're going to flank you and they're going to watch you. Okay. So I'm looking for that, and what I have by the tree, and it actually, probably the reason why I had never seen anything there is it was a little bit of a knoll, and it went down just a little ways, and it was like a dry burnial pool, so you had ferns on the other side of it and everything, and they were pushed down. Okay, so I could see where it went through there, but there was no impression in the ground, and I wasn't going to track it for a long distance to try to find an impression in the ground. I knew what it was, and I figured that when it came up to that tree, it must have crawled up to that tree. It must have been on its belly or something, crawled up to that tree. That's why I didn't see it right away, and I caught the movement of it going up to that tree is what had happened. But I pick up where the ferns are pushed down, and I decide I'm going to try to replicate that stride, because it was a relaxed stride. I fell miserably short on that, so I tried to do a little jump. I fell short on that, and I backed up a little bit and took a little bit of a run to start, and I still fell short. I still fell short on it, so I'm sure that was 7'8". We'll say roughly 7'8" inches tall. It was at that point I just decided that what I was going to do is I needed to get out of the area, because I didn't know anything about them. Am I next on the buffet table? I mean, it could have taken me at any time. It definitely could have bum rushed me at that from the tree that it was at. Knowing more about them than I knew back then, it probably would have been pretty foolish to try to put a couple 2 3/4 inch slugs into it, because it was pretty darn big, and considering the fact that even if I dropped it, by the time it got to me, there was more of them. Obviously, how many more, I don't know. I only know that second one that ran out, and that one there was what I call the cinnamon brown. So some people say, well, maybe it was probably a female or whatever. Who knows? Who knows? Some animals, as they get older, they change color a little bit. Some horses do that, But I just backed out of there. I did not go back the same way that I entered there, okay? Because that semicircle would have put me inside of his flanking maneuver. I backed out on steep ground. That's how I backed out, because I knew that there wasn't going to be anything. I could see forever, and there wasn't going to be anything that was going to come up from below me, or left or right, from the grade of that terrain right there. And if it came from above me, well, if it tried to bum rush me, it wouldn't be able to stop in time. And there was some pretty good sized trees that I could get behind if it was going to throw something at me. Like I said, I didn't know anything about them. Quite obviously they could have got me that way too. But I got out of there and went home, and I felt like the guy that was on Close Encounters of the Third Time. I started drawing. I didn't want that image to leave my head. I was afraid that it was going to be years and years and years before I'd ever be able to parlay this to somebody, and who was going to believe this. I mean, it's one thing when you see one. The average length of time for anybody who is an eyewitness is 5 to 11 seconds. This was well over that time limit right there, and why was it so adamant about the hand signals in the palm, me looking at the palm? And that's what I have, that's what I have burned in my memory. And that's what I know, that my message to everybody that's out there is, you need to consider the fact, if you're going to try to communicate, just like Jane Goodall, you need to make that kind of a move. Okay. And what were the hand signals? Unfortunately, you're going to have to go to my little Etsy story, because we had a lady that she spent almost 7 months drawing these exactly the way that I described, exactly. And they are really, really good. But it's on there. You'll see them. Plus, I think there's one more hand signal that's on there. So lock elbows with all of us researchers, with Richie, with WOJO, with Tim, with Eric. This is education. I'm just so happy that these kids are being brought into this, for this Bigfoot festival, because this is teaching them something too, because we don't want to shoot them. These things have something for us, and that will be further down the line for everybody to understand this. I don't like to get into the woo factor or anything else. I think this is enough information for anybody that's out there listening to handle. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, come on. Well, you weren't there. And to the people that want to say, well, they really, come on, are they really out there? Trust me, they are really out there. Now, uncanny valley, let me explain that to you. The human mind can't accept anything that looks like a human. Isn't it amazing? We could, if you've seen a dog with a human head on, that'd be pretty scary. That'd be weird. You'd be checking yourself into the mental ward or something. You'd be doing
Ernie, I did. I was on 3 hits of Grateful Dead acid in 1986, and I definitely saw that. 100%, dude. 100%. We have a list of questions that everybody wants to get to. I just want to take this in for a moment, because your encounter is so articulated and just so graphic and done so well that for me it's mind-blowing. And I just want everybody to absorb it for a minute. Everybody, hello, Kimberly Murphy. Everybody just sit back and take a minute. We're going to get to your questions. When a story is like this, and as an interviewer, when a story is like this, and when I met Ernie and we had that conversation prior to this broadcast, as an interviewer, you get to talk to some people that it gets personal. And I've interviewed people and gotten personal with them and had them tell their story, whatever it might have been about. Maybe it was about death or homelessness or drug addiction or something. And I tend to let that person speak. And as you notice, this is probably one of the quieter interviews I've ever had, because I have a very big mouth. The name of the show is Banter with Richie B, to jokingly converse. And when Ernie tells his story, I don't know if you guys are paying attention. It's palatable. You can feel his emotion still. And how long ago was it? How long ago was this?
About 38 years ago.
About 38 years ago, and I can still hear the gasp. I can still hear the dryness in your mouth when you tell it. I can still hear all these human emotions coming out from this incident. When I had my incidences, I lost sleep. I did not sleep well. There was I had some dreams on one of them that was really bad. I don't know if it was related. It was probably just a human mind being freaked out. Everybody settle down. I'm not suggesting that, something not of this earth entered my brain and made me have dreams. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's just such a profound thing to happen. So I'm going to take 2 minutes. I want your questions. There's a couple of questions, but first, what I want to do, I think, to break that portion up, if you don't mind, Ernie, I'm going to run this little promo, and this is for Parastream, everybody. Parastream is still out there. Parastream still needs you to subscribe. $1.34 American. We are on there with many things. And I'm going to get to all your questions. We have time to do that. So everybody just chill out and enjoy this beautiful production done by Ben Kennerly of Parastream. Of course, me and WOJO. I mean, who else? I'm Richie B. And I'm the WOJO. Catch us every Saturday night on the Banter with Richie B Podcast on Parastream. We're on the hunt. Yo, there we go. We're still fired up. So hey, so yeah, get over to Parastream. Make sure you get a subscription for Parastream. We're gonna have some exclusive shows for over there. We're gonna have some originals being done over there, docu-series, documentary. Please join us over there. Back to Ernie Davieau with his amazing story. Ernie, a lot of people are asking right now on the side about odor, about scent. Now, before you answer, I've had many experiences, I believe, with bipedal Bigfoot Sasquatch creatures. I had never picked up on a scent ever until fairly recently, and I still didn't associate it with Sasquatch because of all the years I didn't have any scent. We started getting this really, really strong urine smell, really like just pardon me, but piss. And at first it was just like, oh, okay, but then it was kind of going in and out, like it was there, and like it was there and it wasn't. And I'm like, is that moving? Like, why am I getting a scent, then not a scent, then a scent, then not a scent? And I started picking up on it, and having WOJO around as a hunter, we started talking more about the movements of different creatures and their scents and how they kind of would come in and out. I'm a hunter. I didn't know that theory. So this one particular time, which was fairly recent, and at this time we'd already smelt it about a half a dozen times, this particular same odor, I might add. It wasn't a different odor. It was same odor, just to be noted. And I remember I got down and I found what I thought was like a print in the mud, and I was looking at it and I went, oh, WOJO, I got that piss smell. And I'm doing this to I got that piss smell, dude. And then all of a sudden, as I'm saying that, it goes away. I go, oh shit, it's gone. And then all of a sudden I started picking up. And this was right at dusk. And we have some footage of like we got a whistle and things like that. They were communicating with each other. But the reason why they was as soon as I said that and the scent went away, I kind of stood up. And when I stood up, about 60 to 75 feet even from me, in WOJO, this thing came, like you said, the whole woods lit up. Boom, bang, crash, just running through the woods like lightning. And we were just like, what the? I was like, what the? I wholeheartedly expected to turn around and see him right here, like, yo, bro, what you doing in my yard? Like that close. And I get up and I could see, I could follow the noise. That's all I could do. And then it hunkered down. And once it hunkered down, that's when the whistles and things started communicating. So then that is only then did I associate the odor with the encounter. Let's put it that way. Did you have any odors at all when you were that close to Sasquatch?
No, I've taken a few witness encounters too that pretty close up too. And they never smelt anything either. As a matter of fact, they used the word groomed, and I would have to tell you that this was very clean. I've seen his hands. He was very clean. Now, maybe he was clean like that because they were on the hunt, and he didn't want to give his way, his position
right.
away to where he was to the deer or anything. Because let's face it, he was if they would have come down towards me at all, they would have smelt him because he was on my left hand side. So no, I didn't smell anything. No.
No, and I think that's a great question, and especially in this particular case, it's a common question, but I think in this particular case, it means so much. My thing is this, right? I think it was it Bob? Bob, did you share your encounter? Yeah, Bob shared his encounter. I remember hunting with my father in southern Maine. He ran across a road out in the middle of nowhere, and I was asking him about it, and he said it was the mass migration from the south to the north of all the great herds of animals. I would think Bigfoot would have followed the game to the north as well. So this would explain a lot. So kind of like with your predicament and what you're in with your encounter, he's associating that bit of knowledge with it. And I think to me, that's a great statement, Bob. Like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would be the case. And people ask me too, as time, what do you think is more active, nighttime or daytime? Well, let's get one thing straight. 90% of eyewitness accounts are probably in the daytime because it's light out. So that would be my case. That would be my argument for that. I've had most of mine at the daytime. We recently started getting out at night, and I got to tell you, I think it's just as active. I think it's just different activity. I think it's because now you're dealing with a daytime nocturnal, you know what I mean? They do both. Yeah. But nocturnal creatures, no matter what, whether you're both or not, nocturnal time is hunt time, typically, for any creature. You know what I mean? Is under the cover of darkness. So the activities and behaviors would be different. They might be a little bit more ornery come nighttime because you're in their hunting area and they got to hurry up and get food before the sun's up, and you shitty ass humans come in and just wreck everything. You know what I mean? I mean, do you find that might be the case as a hunter? Does that make sense?
100%, because you'll get people who go out and they call it spotting deer at night, and you're spotting deer out in the fields. So there's a couple of reasons why the deer are out in the fields. Is one of the reasons on the edges of fields is if they got to get up and they got to move and they got to get out of Dodge really quick, just like we would have to.
Yes.
I got poor vision anyways. I'm not going to go running through the freaking woods to where I can't even see my hand in front of my face. And that's how dark it actually gets out there, folks. Okay. So if something comes running through there, I want to get to the nearest field as quick as I can to get out of Dodge as quick as I can. And that's the only way that's going to happen. And as far as like the migration the statement goes there, yeah, you're right. They're following the food source. You know, they're following the fruits, everything else. The American chestnut is just about wiped out. The tree itself extinct, you know, because of the Japanese chestnut, I think it was. And that was all along the Appalachian Trail. And we have a lot of greenways that go through from point A to point B now. They follow it. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. And yes, they are going to, you know, let's look at the life of a cougar. I think a cougar has a range of what, maybe I'm going to just say 100-mile hunting range. So you can imagine something of this size, you know, what is your hunting range? But ironically, you know, we have something altogether different that's more human-like. So we have family units. Nobody's seeing more than 3 to 4 in a family unit. Okay. All the reports that I've gotten over the years, all basically the same. So the conclusion that some of us are making is you have your family unit, you have your areas that are marked by the families, then you have clans. Now, if they're going to do a big drive, they're going to do a harvest or anything like that. Now you have clans. So those areas are marked, but that's for probably another time for people to do research on that. You know, first learn what you're doing when you're out there, you know, to get some interactions going on out there. But absolutely, I do subscribe to that thought.
Ernie, I got a question for you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing us this incredible story. You know, just to keep hearing it, you just mesmerize and just picture everything, taking it all in. But my question for you is, because you kept saying it kept opening up his palm, you kept hitting the palm where, you know, to get your attention. Was it? Is it like this? Or was he like hitting it hard, or is it one finger? The reason why I ask is, I think it's trying to tell you something. And for me, it's trying to tell you that I am. It's like saying I am human, of some sort. You know what I'm saying? And I think that for you to say that, it's slapping that hand to like, hey, pay attention to what I'm trying to tell you. I'm like you,
right,
brother. What do you think of that?
That was my original thought on that whole thing. It was trying to tell me that it was just like me, that we were the same from the beginning when he was doing me the hand signal, you know, from my chest to his chest, you know, and then to do that on top of that, and me and him wanting me to look at that palm like that, he was signifying to me and nodding his head towards me too. Do you understand that we're equal? You know, that we're the same. You know, I think that they have they have something for us that maybe perhaps we forgot. You know, that they can still do. You know, quite obviously, there's a lot of things that they can do. You know, people have found like a tree, you know, turned right upside down or shoved into the ground. I mean, the feats of strength that they do, I'm not even going to tell you that, you know, that it's superhuman. I'm going to tell you it's paranormal, period. I mean, the strength that's displayed is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, I think that you're right, WOJO, is that's exactly what was trying to tell me, that we were the same, you know, even though we were the same, but a little bit different.
I just do a quick follow-up that, like a stick, he drives it to the ground, and let's say like in a pathway, like me and Richie, like we find like
Yeah.
so many like. I mean, we went into a completely different area one time, and I showed Richie. I go, check this out, and he thought it was a tree. I go, no, it's not. It was about 5 inches deep, and it was the most straightest. It was like the most perfectly straight tree branch I've ever seen driven to the ground. So what do you think of of them doing that? What is that?
Well, we're doing a lot of the research. People that are out there in different states. We talk on the glyphs that they're finding. Are we finding those same glyphs anyplace else? Like, for instance, just for one, like the A glyph. We've got that A glyph. It can't. I'm just going to say it can't even deal with paranormal. I don't see how this would be possible that you would have that A glyph in like 3 or 4 different states, that you're encompassing like 1,000 miles or better. Okay.
Right.
We have an idea of what those mean. What you're saying there, we'd have to talk in private on that. People can join your group and find out, but they all do mean something. They're very subtle. Everything that they do is very, very subtle. You have to, it's just like acknowledging them. That you're understanding, what's really going on there. They're very intelligent. That's all I can tell you is they're very intelligent. So yeah, that stick does mean something. There obviously are those glyphs that are out there.
Yeah, and we have a lot of things about structures I'm going to go over with you in a minute. I wanted to get your thoughts on it and talk, and people on the side, like I said, know a lot of my evidence, but a lot of this stuff is to me is mind blowing. But D Hoot wants to know, have you returned to that location? Have you ever been back to that exact spot in all these years?
It's on my bucket list. I can tell you that I've always felt a really strong pulling from that area. And at the Bigfoot Festival, it's coming up in June 7th. I'm going to take that walk again. Probably be the last time I'll be going up there, but I am definitely going to take a walk into that area because I have a friend of mine who is been doing research in that area for a couple of years now. We know a lot about it, but I definitely feel a pull, and I'm definitely going back. I've only been in the woods probably 3 times in all these years, mainly because I didn't understand, and a lot of people are, you're hearing things like there are some aggressive ones out there. There's reasons why they're aggressive. They don't deliberately come after people. I don't believe they deliberately come after people. I believe there's something else going on there. That somebody's just not listening to it when they get the acorn, the bones. Oh gosh, yeah. We are finding those. Let me see if I can remember the gentleman.
No. The comment. Read the comment out loud, Ernie. Read the comment. Please invite Richie and WOJO. Take Richie and WOJO, and it just so happens we're available if you ever want to take that walk and have somebody there to hold your hand, Ernie.
I'll carry your backpack.
I'll make you peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
Actually, yes, that is a plan. Okay, that was going to be the plan, to take the walk in there with a couple of people. It would be Tim, Eric, yeah, and you guys.
Yes.
Boom.
That area there, I won't tell you who it is, but there's hiking trails all over there. And it's part of Uncomit's path. And Uncomit was an Indian guy who brought the accountant, the tax collectors up from the colonial towns.
Love you, Ernie.
The hill towns,
Yeah.
So, that's part of Uncomit's path, and that's what we're going to take. And there is an organization that does a lot of hiking around, but ironically, they mark their trails, and that's one of the areas that they say people don't really like to go to because they get lost in there so easily because something keeps tearing down the markers that they keep putting up. So
I told you, Wojo. I told you this. Hang on 1 second. I got to do one thing, and then we're gonna finish this up strong. But wait, hold that thought. Don't move. Animal.
What's up?
Ernie Davieau, Josh Adelia, Mr. Animal from the Animal Paranormal Podcast.
good to meet
What's
you.
up, my brother?
What's
He is
up?
on at 8 p.m. I do a live promo with him every week during my show because it's the right freaking thing to do. You help each other out, you bunch of jerks. Stop shitting on each other. You know who I'm talking to. Well, who's on your show tonight, man? Are you wearing any pants?
No, I'm not wearing pants.
That's a yes or no.
That's right. That's right. Because you know if he said he's wearing,
Hey,
we know if you're wearing pants, what happens, right? Yeah, that's right. See you later,
Come
buddy.
on, see you later.
Who's on? Hey, real quick, I want to finish strong with Ernie. His story is incredible, bro. You got to get with this dude. Listen, if he would like to get with you, that's the thing. But you know, yeah, I told him about the nose picking incident and stuff, and whatever. Anyway, so who's on your show tonight?
John Urban, Bigfoot.
Oh,
Talking about
Bigfoot. Everybody, you hearing this? 8 p.m. right after our show. Jump in with Animal on the Animal Paranormal Podcast and get some more Bigfoot all up in your plate.
Yep, more Bigfoot. Yeah.
Nice. And what's next week?
I don't know. I might invite myself. Oh wait, no. Next week we have the Richie B and WOJO and the Vogel brothers.
Oh my God! That is,
The round table.
oh my God! I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah.
Wait, am I in that? I'm in that. Oh, I'm in that. Woohoo!
Are you gonna light the fire, Rich? Are you gonna light the fire pit or what?
Yeah, you better shut up with that. You and Eric ought to just go right there. All right, listen, I want to wrap up with Ernie. I got a few more things I got to get to him. And by the way, everybody, Ben is wearing pants. Everybody in the on the side, let Ben know how we feel about pants and take care of that for me. Ben, make sure you like and subscribe, even if you're wearing pants, bro. All right, here we go. So yeah, so listen, you have a kick-ass show, and what's the gentleman's name again?
John Urban.
John Urban. I've heard. Nice, dude. We are super excited for you. We want you to have a happy and blessed show and enjoy yourself. You know, just be kind to the guests, please. Yeah.
Oh my God. What's something wrong with this guy? Too much coffee.
What a weirdo.
I keep food in that, for
Yeah.
snacks.
Like piece of taco cheese.
Taco.
Taco
We know.
Saturday.
All right, get out of my studio and just be kind to the world, would you? God damn it! Have a great show tonight.
Have a great show, brother.
We
See you in a bit.
Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Let's go.
Let's go. Boom.
Awesome stuff. So yeah, we work together around here, man. Absolutely. Let's see. So where were we? We were talking. Oh, the markers. All right. So listen. So my property has 3 acres and abuts 94 acres. Everybody has heard this. One day this path appears. It's like 3 miles long. And I'm like, what? And I found out that the granola people came in the middle of the night and made a path because they don't want to get their boots wet. All the way through this property, this beautiful property, these conservationists that decided to cut down trees so they could walk on clean ground. It absolutely pissed me off. So I said to him, this is going to be a problem with our friends. They're not going to like this. My friends, my Sasquatch friends that I've dealt with for many years prior to this granola path is not going to like this. And lo and behold, what you just said, Mark is torn down. I even said to WOJO, watch, there's going to be so many trees across this path. These people are going to freak out. They shut down the path, bro. It still has a sign to this day under construction because they have to keep cutting trees off the path. I know how they work. I've done this. I had a game camera and they changed my game camera's path where I would on the game trail. They didn't like that camera. They put up thorns and saplings and piled it up like waist high. And I had to go behind the camera to get to the camera. And I knew that these dudes were not going to be digging these granola people in there digging a path. You know what I'm saying? I knew that wasn't going to work out.
And pushing trees over into the pathways too, like areas that were like perfectly green. I don't know what's going on, but it just seems like there's a big shift on. They're just rearranging the path now. I mean, because Richie's like, I don't remember this. I don't either. But I'll tell you right now, they like Richie says, yes.
Yeah, they don't like it, and they're going to deal with some incidences out there that they're just not going to be ready to handle. And if they're lucky, it's going to be gentle like yours. Now, one other thing before I bring up a couple of pictures, I want to bring up, and we had this discussion, Ernie, the palms. I want to bring up the hand gestures. This is really what this is about, everybody. This is a different realm of research that we're trying to get to here. Okay.
Exactly.
And, yeah, and like Henry said, like 10-inch trees, like big boy tree. But you're right, Henry. But the palms are a big deal, and having that, and someone brings up the lifeline and things. And I know for me, when I go back at night and after I accident, I go through that thing second by second. Like you just sit there, just visualizing everything over again, getting excited again, getting antsy again, getting that vibe going again. And you live right through that whole thing. And it is such a still shot. Like people don't understand that. You're like, oh, it happened so quick. I literally pull out a lot of detail out of a lot of my encounters because I can my brain just boom, it gets stuck right in the old brain cells, and I can't get rid of them. So with the palms, and you and I touched on this a little bit, where I was flanked, where I had an incident. I was always flanked by two. This particular time was three. The thumb was behind me. The triangle seems to be the way to go, or out like this. So take your shoulders and go out like that. That's generally the formation that I've dealt with when I'm flanked. So the two were out here. This one particular time, there was a third point to make a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that guy there. And so I heard them kind of grumbling and moving around, not far from me at all. And I remember my hands went up. My intention was not because I knew they knew what hands meant. My intention was to say, I don't have any guns. I don't have anything here that's going to harm you. And I said, I'm not here to harm nobody. Please. I just want to get home to my family. I just want to get out of here, please, And I said, and then I heard that one behind me and I said, but and I went like this with my thumbs. I said, but he's going to have to move. And I kept moving in one motion, like whatever side it was. I think it was to my left. And I sat there and waited with my hands up. And honest to God, I could hear the little scuffling of him going in the direction I pointed. And I had my hands up and I started backing out. And you are the one, when you said the palms and you talked about the hand signals, that resonated with me and you picked up on it before I could even bring it up in our previous conversation. You were like, yeah, the hands up are the right thing to do. And I think it was Damien asked the question, what do you recommend? And, if you're in that situation, and I recommend, I'm not a hunter again, but I know you don't turn around and run from a mountain lion, right? So, you want to keep them in front of you. So that's one thing, so my thing was for me, and it worked because I got to my game trail, and my palms were up and I walked backwards very slowly, very methodically, kind of feeling my way around with my heels and my toes, trying to find out where I was. Thank God I know my area so well too, and I think there's something to be said here with these motions and these hand motions, as you said. And I do believe it. I do believe it was probably both of the statements that you mentioned, as far as brother goes, and master of the wood, because like you said, he was stunned that you were there. Like, how the did you get here, human? Humans can't do this, And I think that has a lot to be said for that stuff. Real quick, I want to say hi to Kelly Porter. What's up, Kelly Porter? Nice to see you, buddy.
Hey,
Bigfoot, New Hampshire Bigfoot Research Society, my man. Make sure you guys get over to his Facebook and absolutely follow that dude. There's a lot of good stuff happening there. No nonsense page. You don't deal with bullshit. He'll just shut you right out and kick you out the door. So he's all about the good vibe. Kelly, good job up there, bro. We appreciate you. And like Ernie said, Tim Vogel says, lots of information. Yeah, exactly. There's lots of information with your encounter, right? And here's this one. Here we go real quick. So we got a few minutes here, and I want to spend them with this. I think I showed you this. This is something in my yard that I saw. It's right at the edge of my property, and it says, I call it the dream catcher. And that's a 40-foot elm that's bent over, and it's held down with logs. And all these sticks you see in the middle are they're all there methodically. They're all in there for a reason. and now it's destroyed. They've come back and destroyed it basically and snapped it in the middle and threw all the sticks around. And oh, hello, Gene Tewksbury's here. Hi, Gene. How are you?
Hey, Gene.
Gene, we want to talk to you. I'm sorry, I've been very busy. I have 83 kids. I'm telling you, life gets your head spinning. But I want to talk to you 100%. But yeah, so this was called the Dream Catcher. It's on my property, and these are the types of things you stand in front of with goosebumps, going, "What in the is that? Like, what is that?" You know what I mean? So, and then I find things like this, these weird stackings, right? And you look around and people say, "Oh yeah, that's tree fall and stuff." But where we are compared to like what you were talking about at the Vogels, now the Vogels are very suspect about structures, and I get why now. One, they're educated, like you mentioned, ice storms and things like that. They're very educated. They have a lot more plausible reasons for it not to be a bipedal creature and be more so nature. And at times, you know, you scratch your head because you know what you're looking at. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you talked about like the 100-year-old, you know, the old type of forest, right? I forget ancient forest, right? Well, when we went there to what was it? What mountain were we on?
October.
October Mountain. Sorry, I remember walking out there going like this,
Yeah.
and seeing how high their canopy was.
Yeah.
Yo, the canopy's huge. It's way up there. I'm like, what in the fuck?
It's
It made
30,
no
40
sense.
feet. Yeah.
And it was on a mountain, and things could get water underneath the roots and blow the root ball right out of the ground and bring it down. If that happens out back of my yard, there's an issue. If we don't have that. That does not happen like that nature-wise. There's a reason why a root ball is ripped out in my yard. If you stand there and you look at and Eric came out, and Eric started to go, wow, okay. You know, like he understood what I understood when I stood on his ground, right? So these are different things that we can educate ourselves on too, right? Geographical and things like that, right? So another point and message that you bring up. Now, these huts here are located in north central Massachusetts. And these ones are all bent over, almost like the bottoms were boiled and bent slowly over in order to create this dome, so to speak. And it's 9 feet long, 6 feet deep, and it has a hump in the middle. And I know because I scanned it with a 3D Scaniverse app. Yeah, it's very low around. Yeah, very low. We don't have a high canopy at our place. You know what I mean?
And there's 4 of them too, right by each other.
Yeah, there's 4 of them. Yeah, and then this is the 30-foot T. I just walked up on this one day. This thing's laid right. I couldn't put a fucking screw in that thing and make it hold it like this. It was ridiculous. I remember standing there going, "What the hell's that?" You know what I mean? And it's right at the top of this little basin, like a little hill with a hole in the ground. You know what I mean? Can you see that okay, Ernie?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Pretty crazy, right, bro? I mean, what do you make of that? Like when you look at something like that, I mean, you know, again, you know, we're trying to be careful without being, oh, this is scientific. I saw Bigfoot make that. No, I'm not saying. I never said that.
Right.
I've never said that. I just know that there's not humans out there doing it.
I'll say this, you know, knowing you guys, knowing the Vogel brothers, Tim, he's a ranger. You know, you guys are very knowledgeable about the area that you're in the woods that you're in, and you notice anything that's going on out there. A lot of people who do researching, they may take a picture of something little or something and not give any explanation or even check out anything in the area that would substantiate it not being or being. You know, in your guys' case here, it's like that you know that this stuff either had to be brought in or manipulated right there. You can tell, and that's what I tell people. You need to take a walk around whatever it is that you're coming across. Make sure there are no tracks of any kind. Look at the leaves and everything of anything that's going in there. You know, I will say this, okay, that would be kind of bothersome for me is I have witnessed one time, because we used to go in and get poachers, you know, the warden or anybody lost or anything like that. And I was on track one time tracking deer, and you know, up in that area, the Drake Brook area there, and I had come across in early winter a hole punched in the ice on the brook, and it was kind of weird on how that hole was punched in there. So, you know, I was looking at my binoculars, you know, and So I scooched up to it because I'm looking for tracks, and I'm not seeing any tracks. And then I noticed something kind of interesting. You're going to say, yeah, could be going on. What it looked like to me is like if you took an auger and drilled a hole in the ice and pulled out, like something punched a hole in the ice to get water, pulled their hand out and left those ice crystals on the top like that. But here was the clincher. As I noticed brush marks in the snow, I noticed that something had brushed its tracks out. And now I'm thinking, I've got a poacher in here. He's in my area, and I got a poacher in here. Somebody's trying to cover up their tracks. Why would another hunter try to cover up their tracks? So I'm looking around. I'm looking around for the branch. I'm kind of squatted down right there, not moving. I don't want to disturb the area. And I'm looking around for what they used. And lo and behold, to my left, I could not reach it, but from my position where that hole was, because I put myself in a position of what a person would have done right there. They broke a branch off of a mountain laurel bush and brushed their tracks out. And I had to scooch over a little bit and reach in to get that right there. Okay. And it wasn't even, I could see where it was snapped off, and I found the branch. So what I'm implying here is they got a little thing going on, is where they'll cover up their tracks, and they do it very well too. Usually if you're tracking a deer in leaves, you'll notice that a good tracker people will say, well, there's no blood. It's underneath the leaf.
Yeah.
They've already kicked the leaf over, and the leaf is upside down now.
Right.
You've got to look where those leaves are upside down. Get down a little bit and take a look, and you'll see where actually a trail line goes. They're really good at doing something like that. One of the things that I didn't talk about, and this is going to get your hairs on the back of your head raised up a little bit, is, you guys know this, but I'm just putting it out there for everybody else, is, on the line of me walking in and trying to do the 4-step going in there. I was fortunate to talk to a man by the name of Chief Ernest, the great grandson of Sitting Bull, I think it was Sitting Bull, could have been Crazy Horse. One-on-one, I won't tell you the whole entire story, but one of the things that he told me, he said that perhaps, he said, I walked in two worlds. I'm taking it to mean, they've always known me. They've always been there to protect me. And I'm taking that as did I walk through the veil? Is there a veil there? Can they, it kind of goes into that woo for people, can they step through that veil? Is that what they can do, to get from point A to point B really quick or whatever? I don't know. But is that why it looked at me like, where did you come from, and pointed me out to the other one? Did I step through the veil? But these structures that are going on, it takes people like you who are out in the woods all the time, and the Vogel brothers are out in the woods all the time. So they know that's like their backyard also. And they know when storms come in down around there, and you can tell the trees that would be making things like that going on. But when you got little structures like that going on, squirrels didn't do that. Deer don't go, go and make things like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I appreciate your insight on that. It's huge. You know what I mean? And we try to present it to as many people as possible, because we are researchers. We are on a quest for facts. We don't have facts. We are on a quest for facts. And everything that we gather is circumstantial evidence, but many are convicted through circumstantial evidence. So I'm pretty convinced at this point that I could convict who I wanted with what we have, 100%. Right down to the broken bones that we pointed out. Bone marrow. Animals just don't smash bones in the state of Massachusetts. I don't know many that do in general, that without teeth, without puncture marks where the breaks are. These don't have teeth marks in them. They're shattered. They're blown out, bone marrow sucked out of them. So there's so many things going on. Cryptid with General Tidbits. How are you, Carlozzi? I see them as a mix of territorial markings. I see them as a corral for hunting. I see them as bored as fuck in the woods for 365 days a year, and why the hell not? I see them as areas of teaching to the younger ones how to break, how to make, how to peel bark, how to do all these different things. There's a lot that run alongside of a Sasquatch that a Native American truly did. So, and everything I just listed, Native Americans truly did. That is factual, historical statement. That is not pretend. So this right here has one of my favorites, man, Ernie. You just absolutely I just love the story. Veil is, yes, Tim. That is exactly what he's getting at, Mr. Vogel. Don't you start, Mr. Vogel. Wrap up. And you brought up portal. You said the P word. You can't just say the P word. Love that dude. I love you, Tim. You're awesome. That is what you were getting at. Back briefly. The veil is the portal. There's a difference, but in layman's term, what everybody thinks of it as is a portal. No. The veil is a different whole world.
The veil, for the people that know, they'll know this terminology too. For people who don't know, they can look it up. And it's if we're going to refer to it as in the days of Noah. So you might want to look that up because maybe we've got something biblical going on here because the veil is different than a portal. You know, I mean, we watch a Stargate SG-1, that's a portal. You know, the veil is something that's described biblically as being something that is lifted, okay, that was blocking our eyesight, that the whole picture that we are kind of incapable of seeing, but on certain occasions, because of our vibrational levels, you know, we know the like sacred frequencies like 432, things like that. We know that color has frequency too. You know, then we're going to get into quantum physics. Okay. Ron Moorhead talks about quantum physics better than I can talk about quantum physics. But the veil is basically different, that it's like, let's say, a curtain that we can't see through, but maybe at times we inadvertently we're harmonizing with what's going on around us. It's a way of thinking. Okay. It's a way of going into the woods and relaxing and becoming more in tune with everything that's going on in the woods. It's all vibrating at one level and we're all vibrating at a different level. Okay. Yep. So not portal, veil.
So, but learning more as we go.
Yeah, no, I know. I think it's huge that it's seen like that and understood like that. And I've had incidences where that actually would fit. And that's the scariest part of this whole topic because it's mind blowing. And we've all been there with the one track. We've all been there with the sounds that kind of come and go. Sound like I've had them far away, then right up on me. Don't know how. You know what I mean? So there's many things that could feed into it. If you, like you said, if you put your boots on, you get outside, you start living these experiences, then you can have this different type of conversation. And nobody's better than anybody. It's just that we're out in the woods more. We have more of an experience. You know what I mean? So the experiences are pretty great. Yeah, Damien says part 2. I agree, Damien. We are going to have a part 2 with Mr. Ernie Davieau.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people in the community saying there are no experts. Let me tell you something about an expert. Okay. An expert was your mom or your dad when you're growing up to teach you to tie your shoes. You were basically the monkey and they were the expert on shoe tying until you learn how to tie your shoes. If somebody like Richie or WOJO or Tim or Eric know more than you, they're the expert. If I'm going to go out into the woods and I'm afraid that maybe I might have an accident or something, I'm thinking I want Tim to be my man carrying the medical supplies. Okay.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Right. That's the expert. Okay. Yeah. So most people are experts. If you practice martial arts, your sensei, if you want to call him a sensei down at your dojo, he is your expert until 100%. His expert comes walking in. Okay. So no, those are escape words. When we use words like opinion or expert, or we want to use some academic word salad on people, those individuals have problems doing, in my opinion. You can speak on my level. You shouldn't know anything about me, so you can't judge me. You can't try to put me in a peg or anything like that. You should what happened to me. I'm just your average everyday Joe. That's all I am. And this happened to happen to me to give you this information, you know, that you'll be able to use this information for the next step. You know, sometimes I feel like I should apologize for not coming out 38 years ago. Well, let me tell you something. I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't be on here right now. I'd still be in the cuckoo house. Okay. Yep.
You did the right thing, especially during the times and the time frame of humanity. You did the right thing. We're glad that you saved this story. We're glad that you shared this story with us, bro. I mean, I know you shared it with a lot of people, but for some reason, I feel a really, really tight connection to you as a person. And 100%. And I just feel that like this really had meaning to have you on this show and for everybody to hear your story. I feel that I've treated all my friends on the side with your story. Where can they find you? Because I see there's some New England encounters, right?
Yeah, and this is something that I do have a reason for doing this, and it's probably a twofold reason. One, so I can get from point A to point B, because there's not much money, as these guys obviously know, in T-shirts. What we may make on a T-shirt is like $6 or so.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. This is for you, but I want you to do something for this cause, for the kids that are going to become being educated on the watershed and everything else. These shirts that show the sign language, lock elbows with us, get this information out that our next step is no longer hypothetical. Okay, it's theory. It's totally into theory. They do use language. They do use this sign language. It's rudimentary. Learn it. Get the T-shirt. Promote it. So when people ask, you can say, "Yeah, you're a backer on this too." They definitely do this. They definitely do this. And let's face it. If one walks out in front of you, you have a choice: do it or run. And if you run, you're not going to learn anything. That's quitting. That's quitting. That's ringing the bell. Okay, stand there. If you use some of this simple sign language, they're probably going to show you more. And I think that they have a message for everybody here. Okay, and that's our start. So please lock elbows here. Go on there. Just take a peek at it, and see. I'm not going to brag about the quality or anything like that. Just see and help promote the fact that they actually are that smart. And I have had other researchers recently call me and come right out and ask me. They told me first, they said, if I seen your story 12 years ago, I would have thought you were a nutcase. But there's things that are going on in our research area that we need to talk. And once they speak with me, their next question is, so we're up against something that's way smarter than what we think. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And we both have something in common in this case, because we both heard them speak to each other. I know they have a language. I know they have a dialogue. I know they were talking about me, which makes me feel kind of special, by the way. Yep. And I know 100% that they knew when the conversation was over. It was not like, ooh, silly little animal type shit. These two beings had a conversation about me and the two guests that were with me, and it was about us leaving. And they made sure that we walked out and we knew there. And they absolutely had a dialogue. So make sure you get over to newenglandencounters.etsy.com. If you want to see those hand signals on there, give to the cause. Let's try to get the information out. Let's share it with each other. And as we go down this beautiful rabbit hole of Sasquatch, I got to tell you, man, this is knowledge that you could take from Ernie tonight and put with the research that WOJO and I have been doing and sharing with you now for a while. It's just connected. It's connected. It just extends it in maybe not in a different direction, just further out. Yeah. And we're gonna keep walking with you guys, and we're gonna show you what's going on, and we're gonna make that connection. We already have, right, guys? So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Ernie Davieau, for joining us.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, everybody on the side, for your being really drawn to this discussion and having great questions and being patient and letting me ask them. Thank you so much to everybody. I want to thank the Get Haunted Network, Rob and Sarah, Parastream, and Dark Realm TV. Thank you so much for having our backs, man. We appreciate you guys. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, we will be headed back out. WOJO and I are headed back out to my property, where it all began for me. And we're going to try to get there pretty early and see if we can kind of stir things up in a respectful manner. So make sure you catch us live when we're doing that. I'm not sure if I'm doing Parastream or not, but if you like and subscribe to that YouTube channel, hit the notify button. Doesn't matter what I'm on, you'll always get notified. So make sure you like and subscribe, hit that notify button. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all Banter with Richie B. I love you, Mama. I love you, baby Jack. WOJO, I don't know. No better way to end this than with a WOJO boom.
That's right. Hey, keep climbing, buy the merch, and boom! Let's go!
Let's go!